We good? All right, here we go. Man, what's happening, everybody? I, like all of you, just got done watching episodes 5 and 6 of The Last Dance, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And I thought tonight's two episodes were fantastic. And it really, obviously the next episode they're going to address Jordan retiring in 93. Can't wait to see that. But this was great. So I'm going to give you some key takeaways I had. First, let me start off with this. I think it's appropriate, and it obviously is how The Last Dance began. It was great seeing Kobe Bryant interacting with Michael Jordan. Obviously, that was the guy he looked up to and certainly modeled his game after. I've always said Kobe's game looked like it was a facsimile of Michael Jordan's. And a couple of things stood out to me regarding Kobe. Number one was that how at 19 years old, he was on all of the players' minds. I mean, they were talking about him in the locker room, that Laker guy, and even saying he wants to make it one-on-one all the time and how much he shoots. But he was on their mind. That's huge that this 19-year-old kid was on their mind. And then even in the huddle, they talked about him. So I thought that was really a compliment to Kobe's greatness, even at that young age. And then secondly, I thought Kobe, you could see how emotional he got when talking about Michael Jordan and how Jordan, he said he doesn't even like when people debate who would beat who in one-on-one because Jordan meant so much to him, and he got so much of his game from Jordan, and Jordan helped him out so much. Now, obviously, we're going to keep debating. We're the media. That's what we do. But I thought it almost looked like Kobe might tear up talking about MJ. So I thought that was great as well. So in light of everything that's happened over the last several months with Kobe, it was just great to see him again as a young guy and what he did. All right, some of my other takeaways. Episode 5. I think for a lot of millennials and even younger people, maybe they're not millennials, but they're a little younger than me. They may not understand that Nike, at the time that Jordan signed with them in 1984, was not this behemoth that it is today, or even close. Nike was just one of many companies making basketball sneakers. And I mean, Michael Jordan didn't even want to go with them. He wanted to go with Adidas. And you saw that it shows you how sometimes luck and good fortune can play a huge role in your success. And for Nike, that was clearly what happened. They got lucky to get Michael Jordan. I mean, they went after him, don't get me wrong, and they did everything the right way. But one little thing could have happened and he would have been with someone else. Adidas, if they had been ready up to the challenge, they could have got him. Converse couldn't see what Jordan was, and they weren't ready to go with him. So Nike, jumped at the chance and took advantage of a great opportunity. So in addition to the luck and good fortune, they also were ready and they were willing to take a risk. You can learn that for any business you're in. Taking risks can pay off. So don't be afraid to do that. And you saw, and I just want to share this personal anecdote, like to show you how Nike they were just one of many sneaker companies at that point. Today, it's hard to believe because Nike, according to this recent study I saw with a group called MPD, Nike has 86% of the performance basketball shoe market and 96% of the leisure wear basketball shoe market. So think of that. 86%, 96%. And back before they got Michael Jordan, they were one of many. When I played basketball in 7th and 8th grade, I wore pony sneakers. They were hot back then. In 9th grade, I wore Adidas top 10s. In 10th grade, I did wear Nikes. In 11th, I wore Converse. And in 12th grade, I wore Nikes. That was Jordan the year right after he came out with the Air Jordan. So you see the difference. Michael Jordan got $250,000 to wear Nikes. 20 years later, LeBron James got $120 million to wear Nikes. Some of that he should thank Jordan for, because obviously he made Nike so huge. But so that was interesting to me, just to see, I think that's important for people to understand how Nike blew up and how Jordan blew them up. Another thing was Michael Jordan's competitiveness. And we all know that. That's legendary. But I just thought it really came out in this episode 5. Number one, there were a few examples. One was with Clyde Drexler. Jordan did not even like Drexler being compared with him. Like he didn't like the fact that people thought they were close. You heard on the pregame how Mike Fratello, who was calling the game, said there's not that much of a difference between the two. It's almost like Jordan heard him when he was warming up, but he didn't like that. Not just, people think you're a great player. I don't want you to even be in the same sentence as me. That's a level of competitiveness that not many people have. A lot of guys say, I'm just glad to be mentioned with so-and-so. I'm just glad to be in the same sentence with so-and-so. Glad to be compared to so-and-so. Jordan was like, don't compare him at all. Second thing was the Dream Team practice. That was some great footage to see the trash talk between Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan. And you saw clearly at that time, remember, Jordan only had 2 rings. He had just won his 2nd ring when they were going through that practice. Magic had 5, okay? Jordan had been in the league at that point 8 years. And so Magic is still thinking, you can see it, I'm the best player in the world. Y'all just, fortunate that I had this misfortune and, came down, got HIV, and now I can't play. But I am still, make no mistake, I'm still the best player in the world. And they were going back and forth, and Jordan showed Magic, and I think proved to Magic and everyone else that day, he's not just winning championships. He is clearly the best player in the world. And so I thought that was incredible footage right there. And then you saw that, I'm trying to read my own writing. Oh, the competitiveness again off the court, even with the Reebok, him covering up the Reebok. I don't know if that was his idea, but that was a stealth move. We covered up the Reebok with the American flag. But the fact that he didn't, I gotta be honest, I would just wear the Reebok. Everybody knows this, they paid for this. This is the Team USA. It's not Michael Jordan endorsing this, but he was so competitive, even away from basketball, that he didn't even want to wear that, wear the Reebok sign. So he covered that up. So I thought that showed his competitiveness. The third thing from episode 5 was, I like that he did address the Dream Team and the controversy surrounding Isaiah Thomas. Now, everybody should know after this past week or so that Isaiah Thomas clearly deserved to be on that team. Clearly deserved to be on that team, because even if he was not at that point a top 5 or 10 player, what he had done over the course of his career with the 2 championships, he deserved it. And Larry Bird at that point wasn't the top 3 or 5 player probably, but for what he had done in terms of his career, he made it. Magic wasn't even in the league, but he made it because of what he had done. So Isaiah should have been on there. But I thought I liked that Jordan addressed it up front like a man. And, he says, everybody knows he didn't want Isaiah on the team. Now, did he say Isaiah's name to Rod Thorne and Chuck Daly, the coach? Maybe not. But it was known, and he didn't have to say it. He obviously says he never had to say Isaiah's name, but they knew that he didn't want him on the team. But I like that he gave Isaiah the respect for his game to say, he's the second greatest point guard ever behind Magic Johnson. And he said that, I guess, within the last few years when they interviewed him for this. So, he's seen a lot of great ones since then, and he still said it was Isaiah Thomas. So I like that he gave him that respect. But he also said right after that, no matter how much I hate him, I mean, man, Jordan, and I know, and I feel like I did the interview with Isaiah a week or so ago, and I know he was, well, a little more than a week and a half ago, and he was stunned to see Jordan talk about him, use the expletive about him last Sunday. And so I know that, Isaiah didn't know that was coming and thought that his interactions with Jordan had been cordial over the last several years. So I know that's tough to see that. But apparently Jordan really has no love for Isaiah Thomas. But look, men are men, and that's how it is. But I like that he was willing to say that and put it out there on camera. So be it. The fourth thing from my episode 5, and I thought this is huge. As great as Michael Jordan is, and y'all know I've said it all over the place, he's the GOAT. But he didn't do one thing, and the guy he's always compared to is LeBron. Well, I think he's a better basketball player than LeBron. LeBron, obviously, and I love this about LeBron, has taken the responsibility of using his platform to address social issues and obviously become this business mogul. And Jordan didn't do that. That's his right. That's his, choice. And all of us have that choice to do it. But I think personally, African-American athletes and entertainers who are at that highest level do have a responsibility to use their platform for the benefit of the masses of African-American people. Now, I've heard people say before, well, nobody expects white athletes to do that. Nobody expects Tom Brady or Drew Brees to speak up on behalf of white America. Hello, the history and even the current plight of African-American people is entirely different than white Americans. Entirely different. And so you shouldn't even make that comparison. The entire system has always worked on behalf of white Americans. For the majority of this country's history, it's worked against Black Americans, or the majority of the time on this landmass that's now called America, because it was obviously began before America was a nation. And so I do think that our athletes and entertainers have a responsibility to step up. A lot of times it seems like we're just waiting. We're begging mainstream America to do something for us, to give us justice, and they should. But obviously we haven't gotten 100% of it yet. And instead of always begging, pleading, waiting for them to just do it, we need to use our advantages to take it and grab it. And one of our great advantages is the dominance of African Americans in sports and entertainment, pop culture. And so I say that because our superstar athletes and entertainers are the most irreplaceable Black people in America. You can't replace Michael Jordan. And proof of it is when he did not speak out on behalf of Harvey Gantt and said Republicans buy sneakers too. Black America, while disappointed, still loves Mike, still loves him. Because when you're on that level of greatness, people gonna love you no matter what. And so that goes to show you, even though Black America didn't agree with Jordan's stance, they still loved him. And had Jordan spoke out on behalf of Gantt, had he addressed more social issues, guess what? White America would have still loved him, because he had reached that level of greatness. And so I think that's a lesson that can be learned. So I say African-American athletes who are at that ultra high level, especially, I would like to see them use their social capital, use their connections, use to great corporations, to McDonald's, to Nike, to all these corporations that want you to endorse their product. Use their voice, use their wealth to address some of these issues that are impacting African-American people. And I do understand Michael Jordan feeling like I'm not qualified to address these issues. And I get that, because just because you're a great athlete doesn't mean you're qualified to address these issues. But I would say link up with Black politicians, Black lawmakers, Black economists, Black educators, Black lawyers, Black accountants who are qualified to address these issues, and then help, learn about it or support them as they address the issues. And so I think that's very important. And again, that's one thing that LeBron will always have above MJ, is that he has used his platform to address social issues, like Muhammad Ali. And I don't want it to come off like Jordan's not done anything. Becoming an African-American owner of a professional franchise is huge. And so that's great. What he did, even if it was, he didn't do it purposely to uplift Black America, but with his Jordan brand and things like that, that's huge. And so I don't want to say like he hasn't done anything, but I would have liked to have seen him, as many, use his voice and his platform to do more things to help African-American people. And I thought it was very powerful what former President Barack Obama said, that white America will accept, or mainstream America will accept, an Oprah Winfrey, a Michael Jordan, a Barack Obama, as long as you don't say anything or do anything that's too controversial. And again, I think that needs to be tested, because if you're that great and you're that irreplaceable, like a Michael Jordan was, you might have the capital where you can do controversial things and still be beloved. And so, because they can't replace you, I'd leave it with this. If a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James or Kevin Durant, somebody that great, Steph Curry, was kneeling down instead of a Colin Kaepernick, who was a marginal player by that point, they wouldn't be out of the league. I'll tell you that. And maybe more would be done on behalf of the social justice and the things Kaepernick's talking about, because they're not getting rid of a top superstar athlete because he speaks out on political issues or he's kneeling down. They'll get rid of a Craig Hodges, who was a teammate of Jordan's. They'll get rid of a Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, a Colin Kaepernick. They're not getting rid of the top superstars because they're irreplaceable. All right, moving on to episode 6. Few things that I want to point out from that episode. Number one, fame, the price of fame. You saw it in Michael Jordan, how, and it bothers me. I know so many young people in particular want fame, and they just want fame for fame's sake, to be famous. And fame does have its negatives. And I think Michael Jordan was telling you kind of fame can be overrated. And so the goal shouldn't just be to be famous for famous sake. If you want to be famous because you want to use your platform as a famous person to help others and to do good for the society or to help your family, that's pretty strong. And nothing wrong with making a ton of money. But if you just want to be famous to have people fawning over you and reaching out to take pictures with you and touch you everywhere you go, you're going to find there's an emptiness in that. That can't sustain you very long. And you saw that Michael Jordan, as famous as he was, he didn't enjoy it. He said it's not a lifestyle that you would envy, that you should envy. And so I thought that was a lesson that people could learn. Now, granted, he was famous at a level that is incomprehensible to most of us. But you know, the great players today are similar. You know, they can't go out, can't just go out and grab a meal with the family. Can't just go walk through the mall. You know, can't just go out and do whatever you want because you get no privacy. So I thought that was very, very interesting. Also, the price of fame is that, especially in this day and age, but it even happened with Jordan. The scrutiny, man, the scrutiny is incredible. And you saw it with the book, which was a fantastic book, The Jordan Rules. I read it, looked forward. I hadn't met Sam Smith at that point when I read it, but looked forward to meeting him, and I did a couple years later. It was a fantastic book. But that obviously pulled out some of the warts on Michael Jordan. And so, you know, and then the gambling, of course, which I'm going to address, that everybody that pulled out some of the warts as well and showed you. I mean, he went to Atlantic City. I don't know if he was there till 2:30 in the morning, like the article said in the New York Times, or like he said he was back by midnight. But if a normal person does that, if I go to Atlantic City the night before I have to cover a game or do the odd couple with Rob Parker, nobody cares. Not a big deal. But when he did it, it was huge and became a huge story. And so it shows you how, I think one thing we need to understand is nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And if you scrutinize people enough, you're going to find some dirt. We're seeing that with our politicians. Man, can you find one that's clean? I mean, it's nobody's perfect. I'm not excusing egregious mistakes and behavior, but we do need to understand nobody's perfect, and not just say it, not just say it when we get caught doing something, but really understand it and give mercy to some people, like we would want the mercy, you know, when we fall short. So I think that's something as well. Now let me get into the gambling, and I said this before about the dream team. I like the fact that Jordan addressed this. I know for a fact, you know, Michael Jordan had control over this documentary. Don't get it twisted. You know, it was independently done, of course, but if Jordan doesn't give the go ahead for the doc or to sit down with it, it's not happening. If he doesn't give the go ahead for the footage to be shown, it's not happening. So I like that he addressed, as I said, the dream team with Isaiah Thomas, but also the gambling situation. And whether you think he owned up to it or not, he addressed it and he gave his viewpoint. And I know one reason he wanted to do this documentary and gave his permission was because he wanted his side of the story out there. And if, you know, look, the fact of the matter is this: we haven't seen any evidence or proof that Michael Jordan indeed has a gambling problem. He spent tons of money gambling, but he made tons of money. So it might be like you or me spent betting $100 or $1,000. You know, nobody would say that's a problem. So you got to understand he's going to bet a lot more money than most. But I thought it was interesting that the way he said it was, I don't have a gambling problem. I have a competitiveness problem or competition problem. And obviously, if you're as competitive as he was, and you saw he was gambling, I mean, it seemed like maybe he's right because he was gambling for $20, gambling with the security at the United Center and gambling, you know, as John Paxson told, I think it was Paxson told the story, or I think it was Bill Winnington told the story of he would, you know, he wanted to play blackjack with the guys that were playing for $1 a hand just for his competitiveness sake. And so maybe that's all it was. It's just, you know, I'm super competitive. And so when I'm out there on the golf course, I'm spending money. I got a lot of money to spend and I'm betting a lot of that money. And I think a lot of people may have looked at it when he said some of these guys I played with, bet with, I found out later they were maybe shady characters or questionable characters, but he didn't know. Some people might, sure, of course. Look, it's very plausible that he didn't know. You meet guys, hey, how you doing? You know, maybe a mutual friend introduces you, you trust. Okay, cool. What's up, man? Oh, we playing? Cool. We having fun. And you start betting, and next thing you know, you owe him money or he owes you money. And that's very possible. And I'm not obviously anywhere on Michael Jordan's level in any way, but I know I've taken pictures with God knows how many people. Because nowadays people don't ask for autographs; they ask you to take a picture with them. And I've whether it's in arenas, whether it's just anywhere, I've taken pictures with gotta be for 1,000, 100, several hundred, 1,000, I don't know, people that I don't know. They could be doing anything. Somebody could put a picture on the internet. Look at Chris Broussard smiling with this person, and that person is negative or shady. I don't even know him, but it may look like we boys because I met you at a mall. You asked for a picture. You said you were a fan, and I took one. So it is possible that that's what happened with Michael Jordan. So if you ever see a picture of me with somebody shady, you know the story. That's true though. All right, so those are my thoughts about the episodes 5 and 6, and I do want to say this because I'm going to end it off with this. Brand Jordan, I guess, put out a tweet saying who would be on the dream team now, okay, in 2020. And as I quickly threw a team together. So if I missed somebody, I don't think I did, but if I missed somebody, I apologize. But I threw a 12-man team together, no college players, no Christian Laettner on this one. And one thing I noticed, I'm telling you, it was, I guess, not sad because the game's changed. I would say it's sad, but the lack of big men. I mean, it could easily be all guards and forwards, small forwards, pretty much, other than Anthony Davis. And so the best big men, Joel Embiid is from Cameroon. Nikola Jokic is a European player. Rudy Gobert is from France. Even if you want to consider Giannis a big man because he's 7 feet tall, he's obviously from Greece. So remember, those guys aren't on the team because they're 4 of the best players in the league, but they're not on the team because they're not American. And so my American dream team, I would go with LeBron, KD, Kawhi Leonard, KD meaning Kevin Durant, of course, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Guy has some shooting, and he's deserved it. Three championships. Anthony Davis, Paul George, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. Look at all the guards. And I threw Karl Anthony Towns on there because I need a big. And he's a great individual player. Obviously, he hasn't won anything or come close to that, but he is a great individual player. But I need a big. So I put Cat on there. If I was just going straight players, I would have put Damian Lillard. Apologies to Dame. Him and Kyrie, that's a tough one. But Kyrie does have the chip and hit the big, huge shot, one of the biggest shots in NBA history in getting that chip. And so that's what got him the edge over Lillard for me. CP3 just historically a better player than Dame. So that would be my dream team today. LeBron, KD, Kawhi, Steph, Klay, Anthony Davis, Paul George, Karl Anthony Towns, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook. All right, folks, I enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. And we'll be talking about this on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio, 7 to 10 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. We'll be talking about this every day probably. And you'll see me all over social media doing more of this. So thanks for tuning in. And I appreciate you as always. Peace.